everybody, it's Ruby here today, and today I wanted to do a book review on Dirk Gently's holistic detective agency, that's a mouthful, and the corresponding TV show that was produced by Netflix. Last week I talked about The Handmaid's Tale and how I had read the book a couple of years previously and then just recently watched the TV show. This time around, about a couple of months ago, I watched the TV show, not realizing that I actually had this book on my shelf. And then when I did a bookshelf tour, someone did want me to do a review on the comparison between the two, or at least a review on the book. So I decided to read this finally and talk about it a little bit. In regards to this book, as far as I can tell, the intention by Douglas Adams was to have a character who's recurring in different books and to have different sort of episodic adventures and mystery. So Dirk Gently is a holistic detective who believes in that there's no coincidences and that everything in the universe is connected, as well as some science fiction or fantasy elements. And so everybody around him thinks that he's essentially crazy, but then you sort of slowly discover that he might actually be onto something. And so in this particular book, there is Richard, who is a computer programmer, I believe, and his boss passes away while trying to give a message. And at the same time, Richard is also putting a message on that same answering machine and regrets it and tries to sneak into his girlfriend's place, who he's doing the message for. And while he's in that place, Dirk Gently phones him and is like, that's the worst way to break into someone's house. And also, I can help you with whatever you are that you're doing. And the interesting thing about this book is that it actually took about halfway through for us to be introduced to Dirk Gently, for us to understand that there was many connections between the different characters that we had, and that there was any sort of mystery to be had beyond just sort of the events that were unfolding. And so a lot of the first little bit of the book seemed very irrelevant and continues to be pretty irrelevant to the rest of the book, except for some small Easter eggs. I don't know if this is something that happens with mystery novels, because I don't really read many mystery novels, so I don't know if it's just like, oh, let's talk about our day, and then, something weird happens, and then suddenly we have to look back on it, or whatever. If that's the case, then this is a pretty normal book, but it doesn't seem to be the case. It seems to be very rambly, not very plot-driven, and I still don't fully understand the ending. And when I looked it up, Douglas Adams actually admitted to the fact that he understood the ending when he was first writing it, but doesn't understand it anymore. So, yeah. And the ending is essentially a time-traveling drug trip that culminates in sort of the understanding of the connection between the characters, but it wasn't any sort of big revelation or anything like that. Now, the TV show is obviously related to the book, but in a way all they did was keep the general premise, the general concept, and some of the main characters in the TV show. And part of this could be because, as I had mentioned, Douglas Adams had the intention of continuing this as sort of a serialized series with Dirk Gently, so he had a couple of other books that were related. So I actually have one that he was writing before he passed away, and that is The Salmon of Doubt, and I believe that there is another one as well. But when I was looking at the plot of these different books, they didn't actually correspond with the TV show, so I'm pretty sure that the TV show just sort of took the general idea that Douglas Adams had and created their own sort of plot and everything else. And the thing is that as far as I can tell, and from my own opinion, the TV show is better than the book. And this is one of the few times I'm going to ever say that. They kept the spirit of the holistic agency, where everything has a coincidence and everything is interrelated, as well as some of the odd time-traveling bits and some of the characters. But the way that you're introduced to the characters is very different. The main character is working in a hotel before he realizes that something odd is going on, and Dirk Gently is introduced within the first episode, and he introduces himself and explains who he is and what he's doing very early on. And so the plot is driving forward the TV show from the very beginning. They kept some of the names, but as far as I can tell, the names don't actually correspond with a lot of the characters. There are also more characters that I really like, just characters who believe that murdering people is the thing that they should do because they have an urge for it and everything in the universe tends to go right when they murder that person, or certain police officers and double-cross police officers and double agents, and a lot more characters and a lot more depth and a lot more context to sort of the worlds that we're introduced to. So if I were to recommend anything, I would say that unless you are a huge Douglas Adams fan where you have to read all of the things that he's done, where everything that he does is amazing, I would recommend that you should just watch the TV show. The TV show, I would say, is better than the book and has more of a cohesive element to it, and as well as keeping to the spirit of the books. Comment down below if you've watched the TV series or if you've read the book, and also just if you agree or disagree with what I'm saying, if maybe you know a little bit more about the book than I do, I would definitely like to know. Otherwise, let me know if there's anything else you want me to review or anything else that you're curious about. Otherwise, I will like, subscribe, do your thing, and I will talk to you guys later.